Good evening, everybody. It's great to welcome everybody here. This is the 5th year that we've run, or at least the Lancaster University Exchange has been in existence. And it has become a bit of an annual fixture. But you're particularly welcome. It's an opportunity, as the name suggests, to exchange ideas. So I will be doing a bit of presentation at the start, and my name's Andy Schofield, and I'm the Vice-Chancellor of Lancaster University. But it will be plenty of time for questions and answers, and I've got a number of colleagues from the university who will help me in fielding and answering the questions. In particular, Professor Sarah Kemp will be doing the comparing of that bit and possibly answering a few questions herself. So if you could save your questions for that bit after my bit of the presentation, and then after which there is plenty of time for informal networking and one-on-one conversations. What's the point of this? Well, it's really an opportunity for members of Lancaster and the wider community to come and see and experience a little bit of what we do as a university, and for us to learn from you some of the things you'd like to see perhaps more of, things that you think we should be doing, and we're very open to those suggestions. And also, it's an opportunity to connect more deeply with us. And I'm delighted that around this room and outside are a number of exhibits which will give you a taster of some of the things that are going on campus. In this room you can find out about our library, the wonderful library that we have, which is open to the public, as well as to Lancaster staff and students. And we've also got a hands-on exhibit from the Confucius Institute, and you can see and experience more of that on the stand there. And then there's some of our research. You can, in fact, if at the end of this you would like a job with Lancaster University, then there's even a recruitment stand that you can go to and see what might be on offer. And beyond that, you can learn a little bit more about the research that we have here. And there is also the opportunity to buy some things as well, and I'll come to that in just a second. So, what I'm going to do in the next sort of 10-15 minutes or so is give you an update of where we are as a university. And the most important thing is not so much an update, but a look back, because 2024 is a birthday year for Lancaster. Obviously, every year is a birthday year, but it's a particularly special birthday year. It is our 60th anniversary. So in 1964, Lancaster University got its Royal Charter, which was the thing that allowed us to operate as a university. And we were founded alongside a number of other universities, and if you know something about the university sector, you will know that there are the so-called ancient universities that in England are Oxford and Cambridge, but in Scotland include St Andrews and Aberdeen, founded in kind of medieval times. Then there is what became known as the red brick universities, which were founded typically in the Victorian era, there or thereabouts. And then for a period of another 60 years or so, there was very little in terms of new universities until what happened in the 1960s was a collection of about 7 universities were founded. Ourselves, York, Warwick, I won't get all that, Sussex, a whole range of different universities, and they became known as the plate glass universities. So there you go. The names change, but the universities are still there and are still thriving. And this 60th year for Lancaster is an opportunity for us to celebrate. And you can see in the picture, well, if your eyes are good, you can see some of the things that we will be celebrating and recognising. That very first year, 300 students were brave enough to put their names down for a university that hadn't existed the year before, no idea what they were going to experience. At that point, we didn't even have a campus, and so students were taught and accommodated in the city, in St Leonard's Gate, in the old Gillows factory, and the university was there for the first sort of 2.5 to 3 years of its existence before the site that you are now familiar with, perhaps as the Balerig site, was developed. And you can see some of the pictures of, that's Boland Tower, I guess, being built. Some things are still there, like Boland Tower, and the general layout of the campus is not a million miles different from what it was before. Our Chancellor has changed, so that's Princess Alexandra in the second photo on the bottom from the right, graduating, and she served as Chancellor of the university for 40 years. Since then, we've had Sir Chris Bonington and now Alan Milburn as Chancellor, but it's not too many Chancellors in 60 years of history. Some things have changed considerably, though, so we no longer require students to wear gowns to their lectures, but you can see from that image that in the early days that was required. And other things have marked the development of time in those 60 years, and some real achievements to look back on. And the one I would draw your attention to is in the bottom left-hand picture, which is a picture from a concert in the Great Hall. And a number of you in this room will be familiar with the fact that from the period of the 1970s right through to 1985, Lancaster University became legendary for the bands that would stop there and would play. And I'm delighted to say that this evening we've got the architects of that period, which is Barry Lucas, and Barry's at the back. And if you want to know a little bit more about what happened, what bands were there, you can do two things. You can talk to Barry tonight, one time only, but also you can invest in Barry by buying his book. So Barry and Paul Tomlinson have together written a fantastic book called When Rock Went to College, which charts the bands that played at Lancaster University over that period of time. So lots of history to celebrate. The anniversary is actually on the 14th of September, and we will be inviting alumni back. We have invited alumni back, and in fact, we've got, of that 300 first cohort, 30 of them are coming back, which is pretty impressive, I think, coming back to a university that will have changed almost beyond recognition, but hopefully not so far beyond it that they don't feel at home. This is also an opportunity for me to thank you, because the university thrives through its partnership with the city and the region, but also through the very generous giving of many in the Lancaster community, and also through foundations that have supported what we've done over those 60 years. And I just wanted to pay tribute for one of the larger grants that we've had, which was from the Wolfson Foundation, which is going to take some of the work we do on sustainability, and in particular thinking about crops and how we can build and develop crop agriculture to be ever more sustainable and ever more efficient, and that will develop a photosynthesis lab. We've also, and again, with thanks to you, because many of you in the room will have contributed to our work on defying dementia, and we've raised, as it says here, £50,000 more through philanthropic giving to support our research in dealing with this neurodegenerative disease. And finally, I just want to highlight the Lancaster University Opportunity Fund. The cost of living crisis has impacted many throughout society, but particularly has impacted students who are making difficult decisions about how they fund their time at university or whether it's even worth going to university. And we have, through the Lancaster University Opportunity Fund, provided bursaries, hardship funding and well-being support during this cost of living crisis, and we've put more money into that every year in order to recognise the cost of living crisis that our students are experiencing. So thank you for your many contributions to that and what we're doing. Now, at the heart of the university and the university strategy are three main things that we do. The first of which is our research. So we don't just teach about the cutting edge of knowledge, we push the frontiers of knowledge forward. And I often say at Open Days that all of our academic staff have, in effect, two jobs. The obvious one of teaching undergraduates and postgraduates to the next level of their studies. But in parallel to that, our academics are doing original research, making the knowledge, applying the knowledge, and seeing it have real impact. And Lancaster University, like almost every aspect of university life, gets ranked. And we're ranked for our research. And the thing that I'm kind of most proud of Lancaster's ranking is that we're third in the UK for our research intensity. And what that is a measure of how likely it is that you would be taught by a world-leading academic, a world-leading researcher in her or his field as you come as a student. We're third, Oxford and Cambridge beat us, and we're joint with Imperial, but I think that's pretty good company to keep. And it tests to two things: the quality of the research that we have, but also the importance of using that research to underpin the education that we provide. That too is judged, most recently through the TEF, the Teaching Excellence Framework, and there we achieved the top ranking of gold for the experience that our students get and the opportunities that their Lancaster education gives them beyond that. And finally, and just as important as all of those things, is our engagement. That is how we take the education and the research that we do and we apply it and see it have positive impact in the world around us. And for some, that positive impact is global. It may be recirculating goods into the economy in West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa. It could be very local. It could be working on how you decommission nuclear reactors, for example, just up the coast from us here. Lots of aspects of what we do having impact in the world. I'm often asked about the size and scale of the university, and so this is meant to be a snapshot of where we are right now. So from those 300 students that started with us in 1964, there are now just under 17,000 students on this site in Lancaster in the Bailrig campus. And they divide between those studying for the first degree, the undergraduate community, which is shown in the purple on that screen, and those studying for postgraduate qualifications, perhaps a master's level qualification, or beyond that to a research degree like a PhD, a doctorate. And it's a mixture of students who come from the UK, and that's the top bars, so the majority of our students are UK nationals, but a not insignificant number of students come from overseas to study with us at Lancaster. So that adds up to that cohort of about 17,000 students. And the experience that our students get there is tested all the time by surveys, league tables, and other metrics. And if you look at the latest set of league tables, the Complete University Guide is out, and that measures universities in the UK, of which there are about 140. You will see that Lancaster University is in the top 15. It's 11th in that particular league table, and in all of the domestic league tables, Lancaster University is the best university in the northwest of England. So we're enormously proud, and that's those league tables capture so many things. They capture the employability, they capture the experience that students have when they're here, the quality of the staff, the quality of the teaching that they get, the entrance qualifications that they come with. So many things that are measured, it's always hard to keep track of them all. But you can and should be proud of the university that's on your doorstep for its standing, not just in the UK, but also in the world. And there are another set of rankings that primarily are driven by research metrics, and Lancaster University features very highly, 122nd in the latest Times ranking of universities out of more than 2,000 universities that are ranked globally, and tens, 15s of thousands that don't make the rankings at all. And some of our best subjects feature right at the top there. So linguistics is third in the world in the QS rankings. So really impressive from this university to have a top 3 in the world there. So lots of things that we can be proud of, but we don't rest on those laurels. We are thinking all the time, how do we make the education that we do better, more fit for the post-COVID generation of students who are going on to careers probably that don't yet exist, actually, at some points in their working life. And so to do that, we are rethinking our curriculum, trying to make it more relevant for the future and make it more streamlined so that students can actually get the benefit of all the breadth of things that are on offer within the campus. And while I've talked a lot about the Bailrig site where the university is, it's probably worth recognising that we're a global community. We're a global community in 2 very important aspects. One is that with now, actually I think it's slightly out of date, we've now got 175,000 alumni generated over those 60 years who live all over the world. In fact, I'm told that we've got connections to alumni, or alumni have come from every country in the world, including Antarctica, meaning we've got staff members working in Antarctica, apart from Equatorial Guinea. So if you know someone from Equatorial Guinea who would benefit from a Lancaster education, then just let us know. But as well as our student body being entirely international and global in its scope, so too are our staff. And it's a great privilege to have so many nationalities represented, and as the slide says, 83 countries at present. But we don't just exist here in Lancaster. We also partner with organisations throughout the region, and we have teaching campuses throughout the world. So our key partnerships are locally, and we offer accredited degrees through Blackpool and the Fylde College, and also through Blackburn College. We've got the University Academy 92 in Manchester, where students can study for a Lancaster degree, and we attract and we do it in partnership with the class of 92 footballers. And their mission was to get people who would never think about going to university, maybe because of their background or where they've come from, or maybe because where they are in life stage. And they come and they study a Lancaster degree in a very different format, but nevertheless with the same high quality of provision. But we also have overseas our teaching partnerships, and they range from Sunway, which is the largest one there, where we have nearly 7,000 students studying for a Lancaster University degree in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And then in China, jointly with Beijing Jiaotong University, and that's this blob here, about 1,000 students will study in Weihai on the eastern coast of China. And then most recently, we've opened, and then we've got Ghana, in West Africa, and our newest offering, which has got students who've just graduated, is in Leipzig in Germany. The Leipzig is pretty new to us. We graduated our first cohort of students in October, and there were 11 of them. Those 11 students, rather like the 300 who started at Lancaster in 1964, were taking a gamble on something. They had no idea how it would turn out, and they started and immediately went into lockdown and had an experience that probably wasn't the one they were anticipating. But the joy of their graduation ceremony was immense, and this captures some of it. It's in the old exchange in Leipzig, and we had to parade through our gowns through Leipzig, which I think caused quite a stir even in the ancient city of Leipzig. So that's the first graduations from Leipzig, but we have yet a new initiative that is beginning in pilot phase this summer in Bandung in Indonesia. And this is opening a campus there in partnership with Deakin University in Australia. It's the first UK major campus in Indonesia from any university, and the partnership with Deakin is particularly important. One, in practical terms, Indonesian students often look to Australasia for their education, and so that's attractive for them, and students will get a degree from both Lancaster and for Deakin. But also significantly for us, while Deakin have never done anything like this before, and we've got a lot of experience in it, what Deakin bring in the partnership is a world-leading provision in terms of digital education, and they're acknowledged to be a leader. And so we're learning a lot from them about both their processes and how they engage with students digitally as well as physically. So that will open in the summer with a pilot group who will be doing foundation years with us, and then the proper opening is in a year and a bit's time when the degree programs will begin. I've talked a little bit about the importance of research to what we do, and I just wanted to flag up a number of the things that we're particularly proud of in the last year. So that includes treatments that we've developed in partnership to treat snake bites. We've been looking a lot at how pandemic has impacted some of the harder to develop parts of the country, particularly coastal towns. And we've actually worked in partnership with a number of bodies around Morecambe and the Bay area as an exemplar of what coastal towns want and need, and what may unlock some of the enormous potential that exists in our coastal communities around the country. We've done work on sustainability throughout every aspect of Lancaster life, and this is something to do with, there's research we're doing about reducing the amount of plastic packaging, through to work that looks at, uses ultrasound actually to measure people's tongue movements to characterize what underpins the different dialects and local accents, which we then can record and recognize from a physiological reason why accents are different and variable. I've mentioned the importance of engagement in what we do. Hopefully, as well as coming to this, you may have experienced some of the other things that we've done, particularly focusing on the local engagement that we have. Campus in the City happened a few weeks ago, and in fact, even in this building, you could come and experience and do experiments on virtual experiments on the planets and planetary rings. You could talk to some of our psychologists who would do experiments on you. Very very carefully crafted experiments that weren't giving too much away. Our cultural engagements are profound. We support public lectures. We had Cathy Ashton here, who's an EU ambassador. The Lancaster Arts and the Ruskin and Jukes partnership support many of the things that we do. And Jocelyn walks in at just the right moment to get a name check for Lancaster Arts. And we support festivals throughout the year, Pride, Light Up Lancaster, many other things, and we're very get a lot of pleasure in the things that we can do, including Chinese New Year, which is supported by some of our Chinese alumni who've now based themselves in Lancaster and set up businesses here. And if you want to know more about Green Lancaster, fantastic work that they're doing in Green Lancaster, you can see it outside, and you can hear more about the Confucius Institute and what that has been doing in addition to supporting the work around Chinese New Year at the stand at the back. We also have been the host of a number of activities where people have come to us, where we hope what we've done is been able to showcase a small aspect of the great things that Lancaster and Morecambe have got to offer. Question Time was filmed here on campus in our Leica building, Lancaster Institute for Contemporary Art. And we're working in partnership, in fact, as one of the founding partners of the Eden Project in Morecambe. And it may be that people have questions about that at the end. We also were very excited to be joined by research, the UKRI, which is the overarching body for the research that takes place in the United Kingdom, and they came with particular interest to see how a research-intensive university, where research is at the forefront of what we do, connects to the region and the place that we operate in. And we were delighted that our Centre for Global Eco-Innovation won a national award this year too. So lots of things going on, lots of partnership things that I hope, some of which are recognised by people in this room. One of the biggest investments that we've made in recent years connects to our work on cybersecurity, data, and the more general impact of cyber in the world. Very recently, we were awarded £12 million to set up a new institute of mathematics for artificial intelligence for real-world systems. So that's looking at the transformative power of artificial intelligence and how it might impact work and how people conduct businesses. Any real-world applications of AI is going to come in that applied mathematics context. We've also worked in particular in setting up the Northwest Cyber Security corridor. So that's a corridor of cyber activity that extends from Manchester in the south up to us in Lancaster. It's based on both our research strengths and our teaching strengths in this area. And in particular, we were very pleased to host an event just a couple of weeks ago called Northwest CyberCom. And that involved a colleague, this is a guy called Phil Budden, who's a professor at MIT. And we've known him for some years, and he's working very closely with us, trying to use MIT's experience of how do you nucleate a new business in an area. How do you use the research that you do and the innovation that comes through both the students who work on that research, the staff who work on it, to encourage companies to spin out from the university and other companies to come in and to work in this whole and complex and new burgeoning area of cyber security. And so we met there with both representatives of government who are interested to know how do you help fund that kind of thing, entrepreneurs who've got good ideas that would like to make a real difference here and are interested in perhaps moving into the Northwest, venture capitalists who have the money, who want to put in resource to actually make some of those things happen. And that's allowed us to create, well, that's at the back of something that we're doing to create an environment where new businesses can thrive. And it's called LENS, the Lancaster Environment for New Security, which will, we hope, encourage business to work closely with us at the university and to grow new businesses and activity. Which then leads us on towards the end to think a little bit about how we operate as a university. You'll see that the vast majority of our money comes from students who pay to study with us. UK students will typically pay through the government loan system, so they pay nothing to come to university, but then as their income moves over a threshold for a period of time, 30 years or 40 years, if their incomes are above that threshold, they pay back their loans, and after that time, the loans are written off. We win money for the research that we do, and that's competitively won against other universities and other organisations where people choose to commission research happening at Lancaster. We get some funding from government grants and other funding councils. The other income is primarily the income we get for commercial activity, whether it's the accommodation that we have on campus or running other commercial activity on the campus. And this is a snapshot of the last 2 years of our finances, and you can see that over the last 2 years our income has grown steadily, not dramatically, and the operating, so we're basically in the last 2 years we're just shy of £400 million, and the budget we'd set for this year would have taken us over £420 million. The majority of that, as I say, is student fees and goes straight out on the students, but there are other things that we do too. The adjusted net operating cash flow underpinning that, something we call ANOC, reflects the amount of money that we reinvest year on year back into the university to ensure that the students continue to get the experience that they're paying for. The year stops at 2022-23, in part because we're still in the next financial year. But this is the point where we make connection to some of the things that many of you will have been reading in the press about universities and the pressure that universities are under. So having set a £420 million budget for this current year, the recruitment round over the summer was unusual. International students voted en masse right across the UK not to come in the numbers that they'd come before. And also one of the other things is that the fee that we can charge for our home students has effectively been fixed really since the fee came in 2012 at 9k. There was one small inflationary rise in 2016. And what we then experienced is with the cost of living crisis and the jump in inflation, we suddenly found that we were £20 million short of the budgets that we were expecting to work on. Lancaster is in a good and strong financial position, but that's still nevertheless a significant kind of 5% hit, and we've had to tighten our belts and accommodate that over this year. The challenge we're facing is that the fee has not changed for the fees for the undergraduate students, and so looking forward to that, we're doing the same as we've ever done with a diminishing resource, but also we're under a lot of pressure, and government is sending out quite negative signals about international students coming. And our international student body contributes about half of the tuition fee income that Lancaster gets. And unlike the home undergraduate fee, that is at market price. We can set that price, and it's part of our important income. So universities are under pressure. We are no exception in that. We're probably slightly better placed than some, but certainly not as well placed as some of the very large civic universities in big cities. And much depends on recruitment rounds this summer and indeed next summer as to how our future looks and how we can continue to live within our means. But colleagues are working very hard to continue to balance the books. Lancaster's in good shape, but it's by no means certain times for universities right now. So that summarises some of the challenges that we face as a university, but we've got investment that we're continuing to make to ensure that the areas of strategic growth are exciting for us as a university, but I hope exciting for the wider Lancaster and Morecambe community. And finally, just a word or two about sustainability, which is absolutely vital in this time of climate change, and we put this front and centre of what we do. And that is recognised in world rankings, so you can see that accolade of being first for our sustainability governance in the latest QS World Rankings. We've opened a new store on campus called Restore, which allows you to buy pre-owned goods, and it's done in partnership with St John's Hospice. And we also showcased in Parliament the work we're doing in education, and it's called the Morecambe Bay Curriculum, and it's working with primary schools, preschools actually, right the way through to people up to about 25, building community-based education projects, a curriculum that will tie into the national curriculum. where students, as they learn about sustainability, can set it in the context of the world around them, the world they see, through projects working across age groups to transform their engagement with education, but also their engagement with nature and the environment around them. So, that brings me to the conclusion of my bit. I'd like to thank you for your attention, and we'll hand over to questions. So thank you for listening.